Welcome back to the studio. As with many of the videos that we record here in the studio, the topic has been suggested by viewers' questions. We have a really good customer support team that work both by phone and by email on the website. And they relay questions that we often get so that we could do educational videos and try and answer some of those questions preemptively. And we have made a video about this topic before, but I guess it didn't hit all the buttons, so we're going to try it one more time. And there was a problem with a part of it, so we had to delete part of it, so we're going to go again. And the topic today is going to be printing self-print pantographs. Now, we have multiple formats in our designs, and just to name a few, we have the design boards, we have tearaway designs that are single use. You could use those on your domestic machine. They're basically tearaway paper that you adhere to your quilt top with like 505 temporary spray adhesive. Those could be used on a sit-down domestic machine, a sit-down long arm machine, or a long arm machine on a frame, and those help you build muscle memory and eye-hand coordination. We also have stencils. We have the digital designs that are used for long arm machines with a computerized system. We have designs that work on embroidery modules with for quilting designs. They're not embroidery designs. These are quilting designs for an embroidery module. And so we have digital, we have the paper pantos that work on the back of a long arm machine, and then we have the self-print, which is what we're going to go over today. The self-print basically are something that you would download from our website, and you would print them out on your home printer through your computer. Now, we do have some free ones that you could test on our website. If you go to the quilting designs and then go down to a subcategory and select free, all of the designs will come up that are free in that subcategory, and then you could just select one or two of those and print them out, and you can see how it works. Another way to test that is to put free in the search engine, and all of the free ones are going to come up, but you're also going to get everything that has free in the title, like Home of the Free, and something like that, like Free Time, and those won't necessarily be free, they just have free in the title. So the easiest way to only get the free items would be to do a subcategory of free in the quilting patterns. So I'm going to go over these one at a time, and what I mean by these one at a time is that we have different formats of printing. Some of these, because they're smaller design, and this is for instance, this is called Bean Sprout, and this particular one's only 6.5 inches high, and because of that, this can print on a single piece of paper, one repeat. And if you print one of these out, well, you probably have to print two and connect them, then you would be able to get an idea from that how big you are going to get from two pieces, because each one of these is going to overlap a different quantity than another one, and so you're not really going to be able to tell just by dividing 11 inches by your table how many of these you need to print, because the overlap is going to be different. So this is a single print, this is 2 sheets, and at this point you can start to get an idea of how many pieces you might want to print off. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the camera in a little bit closer so you might be able to see what I'm talking about. My printer was acting up earlier and it printed off way too many of these single page ones, but I do have those to show you. So I'm going to bring the camera in and we're going to look at these, but also I'm going to show you on the computer where
the first thing that you'll see when you're on the computer and you open up the PDF, which would have the designs to print, there's 2 different things. We have the self-print, the single page self-print instructions. And these basically will explain to you the process of putting these together, which is what I'm going to be going over today. And each one of these different formats will have a different set of instructions for them and explain how that process works. I don't have all of the different ones here with me today, but this is an example of the 2-page self-print, and it explains to you how to do the 2-page self-print sections. But as I said earlier, this is one single page of the bean sprout. And after we get several pages printed, what we have to do, and it's nice to keep these boxes up in the same corner just so we can keep track of what we're cutting. But you can see where the printing stops on the printer. We're going to trim one side of these, and it doesn't matter which side, but that's so we can overlap the papers. And you can see here that I have cut this side of the paper, and I've cut right where the ink stops on the design here. I've just laid the ruler on it and used my rotary cutter with the paper with the rotary blade that's designated for paper. I've trimmed that off and overlapped them, and I've just used a glue stick or tape. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off and show you with the glue stick. I used my rotary cutter and my ruler to trim off this edge, so you can see now that the ink goes all the way to the edge, whereas before there was a blank space here. So now when I overlap this, I'll be able to connect the lines. But I want you to also notice that it's not just going to overlap a tiny bit. You're going to see how far we go in before these lines merge together. So we're almost 1.5 inches to 2 inches in or overlapped before we connect. And each one of these different Panto designs is going to be different in the amount of overlap that we get. And the two different ways that I connect these, one of them is with a glue stick and the other one is with tape. And quite often I'll do both. I'm not afraid of overdoing it. And you don't have to get super finicky with this. As long as you could see where you're going, that's all that's important, because you're not supposed to be hovering over these lines anyway. You're supposed to just let these lines be a spirit guide and not be a marshal dictating every single gesture. So I also like to tape down the edges of these on both the front and back, and mostly that is not just for use but also for storage. So when we roll these up and put them away, they roll up nice and smooth and don't get caught on things as we're putting them around. So now that you could see, that's 2 pieces. We have 3 pieces here, and you would just keep joining these as you need, depending on the size quilt that you want, or you could just always make them to fit your table. This is a fairly easy one. It's just a single page for one repeat, and we will just keep adding onto this as we go. This is a single page. The next one will be a 2-page, and we'll go from there. These instructions here are for the 2-page self-print, and as you can see, the instructions have the 2 pages. They're going to instruct you to connect these and make units of 2, and then be joining the units of 2 for as long as you need. In this particular case, it shows you that the units of 2 are going to be connected side to side. That won't always be the case, but you'll be able to pay attention and figure that out pretty quickly. This is what one unit looks like on this particular one. This is called Crepe Myrtle, but you can see the 2 pages are one on top of the other instead of side by side. So these are the 2 pages of the actual unit, and this is page 1, this is page 2. You can see this one, it says overlap page 2 here, and this one says cut along dotted line. So we know we're going to cut here, and I've already done that on this one. So then we could go ahead and line this up, and we could go ahead and glue that together, and that's going to give us 1 unit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This one we don't have as much overlap, but they're all going to depend really on the design, because the height of the design is going to determine or dictate how we had to put these through the printer, because not everybody has a commercial printer and can print massive designs at home. So this is what we needed to do in order to do that. Then after these get made, just make sure we keep all of our labels oriented the same here. And again, we're going to trim and overlap as we did on the others. So this is 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units. But measuring this and dividing it by your table or the width that you need on your quilt will give you how many units you need to print. That is a 2-page unit. In the case of Nebula, in order to get 1 repeat, we need 3 pieces of paper, because you can see this unit does not repeat until we get to the 4th page. You can see this does not appear here. It does not appear here. So we have to go all the way over to the 4th page to get 1 full repeat. So this is 3 pages, and this is 1 full unit. So we have page 1, page 2, and page 3. And just as we did in the 2-page, we have the instructions for the overlap and for the cutting. Overlap and the cutting. So this would be cut and placed over. This would be cut and placed over, and that would create this 1 unit. And then after you have 1 unit done, you could measure and see how many units you need to print. But I could tell you this one, you don't have to print as many units because the pages are so many in 1 unit. So this fills out pretty quickly. And also it goes together pretty fast. So this is a 3-page self-print. This is an example of Riptide. Riptide is a 4-sheet pattern. That means you have to print 4 pages to get 1 repeat. This is just one of the 4 pages. And you can see down at the bottom, 1 of 4. And this one will kind of tricky because you would think, just looking at it, that 1 page should do it. Even when you look at the 4 pages, it kind of looks like it's the same all the way across. But if you take a real close look at it, you can see that it is different all the way across the 4 pages. And these just connect end to end. It has the overlap and cut here, just like the previous one, and these go end to end instead of top to bottom. So that's 1 repeat, and here's another repeat. So you can see that you probably only need 3 or 4 of these to go all the way across to your frame. So this is an example of a 4-sheet pattern. This is Pieces of My Heart. Pieces of My Heart is a 2-sheet. It's another version of a 2-sheet. This is 1 of 2. And you can see here we had another cut here and overlap here. So these go side to side rather than end to end. And these 2 sheets complete 1 repeat of the pattern. And this example here, we have 3 repeats. So you could go ahead and see how many of these you would need to get all the way across the top of your table for your, either for the size of your quilt, or just go ahead and make it for the size of your table, and that way you'd always have it. One of the nice things about Urban Elements is they try and provide you with a way to test a product without costing you anything. So if you look in the free section, you'll often find that there is an example of something that's free that you could test before you have to buy something. So in the case of the digital downloads for the long arm machine, we have examples of free digital panto patterns. In the case of self-print, we have free self-print paper pantos there. In the case of the designs for the embroidery module, we have free quilting design patterns for the embroidery module there. In the case of a whole cloth quilting pattern, we have an example of that as well. So whenever we are creating something new, or there's something that we feel like people might have a hard time understanding or learning, we give you a free example in our free section, and that's something that you could test risk-free and see if you enjoyed doing it, or if it's something you'd want to do. There's even examples of borders and corners, more things than I can remember at the moment. So it's a great resource, and you know, there's like, I don't know, 70, I think there's like 73 things now in the free section. So if nothing else, it's a great way of expanding that design library at no cost to you. And all of them are Urban Elements designs, so you know they've got to be good.
We are back at the Urban Elements website, and I have selected the quilting designs, and you can see we have the categories here to the left. And I'm going to select subcategories and go down to free. Now this is going to bring up all of the free quilting designs. There are other free things on the website like quilting patterns and tattoos, but this is just going to bring up the free quilting designs. And let's see. You would think I would have written down the name of those ones that we just did. So that I could remember. Bean sprout. Here we go. So you can see here, pulled up bean sprout. That was the first one we did. It's a single page. And we have three things here. We have a self-print, we have a digital, and we have an embroidery, just as I was talking about in the beginning. The embroidery is a quilting design for an embroidery module. The digital is a quilting design for a computerized quilting system. And the self-print is what we were talking about today. You'll download this and use your computer and your printer to print pages at home. So if you click that, you're going to see I got my little arrow flashed up here and turned blue, and I have one download. That's where mine went, and here it is up here, bean sprout. Mine used to go down in the lower left-hand corner. Now it's up here in the upper right-hand corner. And if I double click on bean sprout, it will open up. And you see here we have two PDF pages. One of them is the instructions, and one of them is the self-print. And by clicking on those, you would get your we may have to extract these first though, but sometimes the PDFs you don't have to extract. So this is our self-print page. This is what the page would look like. So if I click in here and just hit Control P for to open up my printer, it's going to prepare my
print preview page. Now my printer is not turned on. I'm not going to turn it on because I don't need more pages of this, but all I would do is hit the print button, or I would select additional copies of this and hit the print button, and that would give me the copies that I needed of the instructions, and I would do the same thing to get copies of the design itself. So if we click on Bean Sprout, this would be the design itself, and again you could click in there and hit Control P for Control Print. That would open up my print function, and I could hit how many copies I want and hit print, and that's going to print those copies, and that's all there is to it. So we could do this for each of the different designs that we wanted to do, and just go from there. Let's see, can we remember any of the other ones? Let's see, I can remember pieces of my heart. Probably spelled pieces wrong. It's coming up. Okay, pieces of my heart, Panto. And we can see all the different options here. We have the digital, which would be for a computerized long arm, self-print, tearaway. This would be for either the long arm, sit-down long arm, or for a domestic machine. These are single-use papers. You usually get 4 sheets that are 52 inches long, between 48 and 52 inches long. And this is a embroidery formatted design, but it is a quilting design, but it's for embroidery module. And this is for a paper Panto. So if we click on the self-print, we would be required to pay $15 for this design. And we would print it out on our own paper. So you could go to each of the different designs. It would come up the same way after we paid for it. And if it, the other thing you can always do, you can always go into your account to, once you sign in, and go to My Downloadable Products, and you could always download this again and again if you needed to. If for some reason you lost the Panto, or if there was some devastating condition at your house, a flood or something, where you needed to reprint all your pieces. But that would require that you have an account on the website and that you purchased it when you had signed into the account, which I highly recommend. The other nice thing that does is when you have purchased something and you're on that page, it would come up that you've previously purchased this item on that page. I haven't signed in right now, so it's not saying that for me. But this is basically just how simple it is to go through. And here is a sample of the self-print. Oh, that's the tearaway. Okay. So there are different things on here. Different samples of the sew out and everything. So that's as simple as it is. Each page will have a single page, double page, up to 4-page printing instructions. They all come with that. You don't necessarily have to print those off if you don't want to. You could just read it on the screen. And when you're comfortable with it, you could go ahead and print off your copies and save your paper for that. But otherwise, it's a fairly easy process. Just don't get too overwhelmed by it and keep track of your papers. All the pages will be numbered 1 through, like 1 of 2, 2 of 2, or 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 4 of 4. So it's easy to track them, and you can connect them in units and then connect your units together. So that's pretty much it, and we'll get back to the studio so we can sign off.
Well, I hope that answered almost all of the questions you have on self-print, why we have it, how you do it, where you find it. And if we missed a question, just let us know. I did a video just last week on some of the ways to store paper pantos, so maybe you'll find that useful as well. But these can be stored just the same way that you'd store your paper pantos, but that's why I like to tape both sides to make sure that the paper rolls up nice. But like I said, they will store just like any of the other pantos, however you store them. I put away my hanging, it's a vinyl storage rack, but I use it for paper pantos. But anyway, thanks for coming into the studio with me today. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of each other.